Thank you. So we'll move on to, since we're pressed for time, we'll move on to one question from the audience. It relates back to, I believe, both mental health and gun reform. So the question is, wouldn't people be more reluctant to tell their doctors about their mental health issues if they knew their ability to own a gun might be restricted? And so I'm going to open up the question up to the Democrats first.
That's super abstract. But to answer that, I mean, I think at that point, we have to rely some of our trust in the mental health professional and hoping that they are able to see the signs and the scenarios that their patient is exhibiting as more of an indication of their mental health versus, you know, a self-diagnosis. Because I'm not sure if the question is whether or not a person would be reluctant to come forward to a mental health professional or whether or not they'd be willing to disclose everything to a mental health professional. Because if it's the issue of disclosing everything to a mental health professional, I think that already exists. You know, many of you know that if you were to go tell a mental health professional or a teacher or anybody with that type of jurisdiction that you were suicidal, you can get Baker acted against your will. So there is already some type of reluctance, I think, in patients to fully disclose everything to their mental health professionals. But I think somebody that is truly facing a serious mental health issue that would make us want to deter them from being able to own a gun, I think that they would still exhibit those symptoms and they would still be referred by whoever they work with or live with or, you know, surround themselves with. I think they would still be referred to a mental health professional, and I think that the mental health professional would then have to use their subjectivity to be able to decide whether or not that person should, would be a responsible gun owner. I don't know how much a truly, you know, sick individual would be able to master something like that if they were already in this professional's office.
Yeah, it's definitely kind of also a thing that we unfortunately we'll have to rely on people we don't know and just people around this individual to report that. And definitely I see that just being an issue of the system. If, you know, a miracle were to happen and we would implement such policy that would require those that are suffering mental health issues to give their gun away and not, or at least restrict them from using a gun at the moment. It's definitely a systemic issue, I'd say, with just so many things to talk about.
Next topic.
I mean, I don't think we should be unilaterally restricting rights based on immutable characteristics. If you're mentally, like, I'm not even sure what constitutes mentally unfit. What is the subjective measures of this? Like, unless there are clear-cut guidelines in place, we should be very dangerous to say anyone who's been Baker acted should lose their Second Amendment rights. We should be very careful about saying, like, people who are mentally unstable by the basis of a medical professional based on subjective standards.
And I would agree with that because, you know, we have courts for this reason. Without a court ordering an issue to take away private property, I mean, guns are still considered private property of people who own them. So until a court says, you know, we're taking your private property away because of a conviction, I do not feel that we should be just giving our guns away under the ability for someone to subjectively say, you need to give them away.
Eagles over.
I would agree with the Republicans just a little bit. I think that there are, I mean, common sense, like the way that's argued, at least from the Democratic perspective, is more background checks. But I think the question is stating the negative possible repercussions of that. So say everybody experiences depression at some point in their life. Like, that's just life. But would you be able to go to your doctor and get help and get medication that you need through this struggling time in your life? Like, would you go to them and tell them about your depression if you knew that you'd be put, like, labeled as depressed on this medication and not able to get a gun? Like, doctors are passed a law that say any history of depression is reason for you not to own a gun. A doctor has to put that down. Like, the thing about mental health and, like, this common sense background checks, I mean, sure, like, you shouldn't be giving a person a gun who's, like, chronically depressed, but I think trouble comes with drawing the line. You know, because people with depression also have trouble coming forward with it. So where's okay, this one person came forward with it one time. Is it just a one-time thing, or is it their whole lifetime thing? And should we restrict them getting a gun because of this? I just think the more background checks wise, would make the stigma against mental health like 10 times worse. Like, oh, I can't get a gun now. Crap, I'm not going to come forward. Like, society's against me.
Or excuse me, next.
I just to go back more towards the question. I don't know that the question really it didn't really state what what the specifications of what the mental health line what line is drawn to take away guns. I think it would, if we're going to get into that, I think it would apply more to people who are exhibiting violent tendencies. And on the case of medication, if you are being medicated and your medication, you can't even operate like heavy machinery, let's say, like why should you be operating a gun? And if your main concern when coming forward to get medical help, because that's what it is oh, I won't have a gun, it kind of makes you wonder, well, what is really the underlying reason for that? If the medical health care provider's subjective diagnosis is that you do need to be medicated and this medication may make you exhibit more violent tendency or more depressive episodes, or you have a history of violence and violent tendencies because of your mental health issue, I think that is where the line would be drawn for mental health and the restriction on guns. I don't think it would just be overall mental health issues. I think it would be more put into play when somebody like Nichols Cruz, school counselors and the police and adoptive parents and foster parents reached out to professionals and said, hey, this kid clearly has a problem, and he likes to play with guns, and he likes to kill animals. I think a case like that is something more where guns would be restricted versus somebody who's, depressed or has anxiety but is not a danger to themselves or hasn't said that they're a danger to somebody else. I never meant to say that because you've been Baker acted, you shouldn't have a gun, but because if you are being Baker acted, it's because you've posed or indicated that you would be willing to pose a danger to yourself or somebody else. So if that person in that state of mind is given a gun, I think that is where a lot of the shootings and killings and suicides end up happening and being fostered during that state of mind. So I don't think it would be taking everybody with the mental health issues, guns away, because it's very subjective what is and isn't a violent tendency and a violent health issue. So I don't think it would be so broad that we'd be taking, every depressed person or every anxious person's guns away. That would be silly.
But under the new Florida law, if you've been Baker acted once, you can get denied. You will fail your background check to get it back.
But you have to understand that if they are being Baker acted, it's usually because they did pose a danger to themselves or to somebody else. And especially if it's to themselves, and the majority of suicides do occur by gun, or a great majority of them do occur by gun, it kind of makes you want to put those restrictions and safety measures into place for that person. So if they are ever again in a state of mind where they're, not thinking cohesively and coherently for themselves, at least have that.
Would you like to rebut?
Oh, I would just like to say that then if that's the case, then there should be a process for these individuals, once they seek the help that they get from these medical professionals, to be able to get off that list, to be able to pass their background check, to be able to purchase a firearm.
Eagles would like to rebut. All right, so that concludes our debate. I'll leave some time for closing remarks, so each group will have 5 minutes. This is the chance to plug whatever events you guys also have. So I start with the College Republicans, since they seem to be oozing with plugs.